Welcome back to another video. This is Street Counsel, Ron Lee here in the building. It's nice to see y'all again. It's been a while since I had put out another video. I haven't done a react video in a while now. So for me, I'm just trying to pace through time. You know, I think a lot of people are affected by the current circumstances right now. My face is actually going through it right now. I'm woofing right now, man. All the barbershops, everything is like closed. I mean, you really don't have no access to immediate services like you did before. So this is definitely different for me. I'm sure for a lot of other people. So I'm just gonna tell everybody to be safe, be good, make sure you wash your hands, and yo, let's talk about postpartum let's talk about postpartum depression in men. The first time, shout out to one of my subscribers who basically wanted me to do this video. He asked me to see if I would be able to talk about this issue, see if it was an issue that I think people would want to discuss. I thought it would be a really decent topic to discuss, not in terms of the situation itself, but decent as it being a way for people to actually have conversation about what's going on. So postpartum depression, for me, I haven't really experienced it as much from what my subscriber was telling me. It's times where he is with his child and he just can't wait till his wife gets home to give his child back to her. And you know, for him, he said he never thought he would experience this because he was excited to have his child with his new child with his wife. I thought it was, you know, pretty cool for him to be able to love his child the way he does. He definitely loves his child like I love mine. You know, I am a dad too, but again, I haven't really experienced postpartum depression. I've had my own form of depression that wasn't, you know, that had nothing to do with my son. So for me, I think this would be an interesting topic to discuss. If you guys have any comments or if you have any suggestions about what I should discuss next, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Show your love, subscribe. Please, guys, I want to make sure that I want to keep getting you some content here. And we're about to jump into postpartum depression in men. I know some of you women are like, shut up, sit down. You ain't got no depression. I got depression. I'm the one who pushed this baby out. I'm the one who's taking care of this baby day in and day out, waking up 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I'm the one feeding this baby with my titty or the bottom, whichever you want to do. But I think it's deeper than that. I think a lot of people will respect people if they actually understood that men do go through things. So let's just jump into the video.
Postpartum depression is just another form of depression. It just happens to occur following the birth of a child. The symptoms can be the more typical, sadness, loneliness, not sleeping well, which happens when you have a kid anyway, not having much appetite, being more withdrawn. Postpartum depression is also common in dads. We think it's about 5 to 10% of fathers, as opposed to 10 to 25% of mothers, but those numbers are likely underestimated because in order to know the prevalence of an illness, we need to be able to ask the fathers how they're feeling, and a lot of times the father is back to work, they're not present at the postpartum visit with their wife for their OB. So until we can ask them and find out how they're feeling, we don't really know the true prevalence of it. The biggest problem with postpartum depression for dads, most people don't even know it exists, so why would you even be asking about it? Why is Joe acting that way? He's just having a rough time at work. Actually, he could be depressed. A mother typically wants to love their child and doesn't understand why they're not able to do that. The father can be very angry and hateful towards the child. The most important way to cope with postpartum depression is to talk to somebody about it. Cognitive behavioral therapy is the #1 way to learn how to see your emotions for what they are, and that there isn't, in fact, anything wrong with the child or with yourself. Some people need to resort to antidepressant medications, just as they would with any other form of depression. If I speak from my own experience, and I did suffer from postpartum depression when my son was born, I think I was a typical father. Everything seemed normal. I was very excited that we were having a boy. By the first 24 hours, though, I was already, because he was very cranky baby, I was already nervous that there was something wrong with him. I was back at work, and I would come home, and my wife would hand me my son, and I would just hand him right back because he would just scream. I'm like, I don't want him. I began to realize that there might be something going on with me at that point, and I did actually look up therapy, but I didn't make the phone call because maybe I also thought, like, it'll get better. I don't need this. By about week 4 or 5, we hit rock bottom. I was getting some very negative thoughts in my head about my family, about my child, and I just broke down one day. I made the call. By the next week, I was going to the therapist. It took roughly 2 months of therapy before I really started to feel better. As with any mental illness, there is a stigma. But in terms of fathers, I believe that stigma is even greater. With women, it's been a slow breakdown that more and more women have talked about their experiences, so it's not as taboo to hear about. If you think about the characteristics that are typical of men, sadness, weakness, these are not typically manly things that you hear about, especially culturally in the United States. So for a man to admit openly to generally a stranger, a pediatrician or an OBGYN, that they are suffering is a big thing. By and large, talk to your physician. We have many resources available to us that we can help to guide you towards. I think you can read all the books in the world, but until you actually have that child in your arms and you have to take care of it, the book is not going to help you. I think that you should be having a child because you want one. You should be excited about it, but you should be honest about the challenges that are going to come.
I'm going to pause it right there. I think he's made some good points in terms of what a man actually goes through who's actually a father. I see a lot of dads who do have I see a lot of dads who change. A lot of their personality traits and a lot of the way we communicate changes. The conversation changes. You can even if you don't have the greatest communication with this person, you start noticing these like little things. We were able to laugh more about some topic that I would probably bring up, and we'd probably be able to laugh about it. But at this point, you're not laughing, so I'm thinking, well, okay, well, maybe it's not funny today. And then over time, you start kind of seeing the same behavior, and then you go, wow, man, like, you're changing. And I never really thought about it until now, where I would actually be able to see these changes with some of these men. So, so let's jump to the other half of this video.
500,000 women battle postpartum depression. For decades, they lived in the shadows, afraid to speak up about their condition. But lately, there's been an increased awareness. Now, that includes men as well. Here's Heather Abraham to explain.
More and more moms have come forward in recent years to talk about postpartum depression. But new research shows postpartum depression does not only affect new mothers.
Yeah. It's a big adjustment for dads as well as moms.
Dad Jared Hefter believes plenty of new fathers also suffer from postpartum depression.
Could be a combination of that and then just the huge adjustment of having to take care of somebody besides the husband and wife.
And a new study shows there's actually science behind it.
Men have about twice the risk of depression in the first months following the birth of a child than at other times in the lifespan.
Psychologist Darby Saxby was part of the research team that found hormones are linked to depression.
Men who had lower testosterone also reported higher levels of depressive symptoms.
But she says they also found that men with lower testosterone spent more time with their children, which in turn made the moms happier.
I think it's true, but I don't think it necessarily takes away from the mom having less of the postpartum depression.
Some symptoms for postpartum depression in men include aggressive behavior, irritability, working more, and in some cases, drinking more. Men are also less likely to admit they have a problem, which is why it's important to keep an eye out for the warning signs and encourage them to seek help. Heather Abraham, KDKA TV News.
All right, guys, so that was the end of the video. It's very interesting to talk about this. It's kind of hot. Let's take this off. It's very interesting to kind of get into this kind of topic. This is something that I did see a lot with my previous employer. I was a case manager, and I did see a lot of these men who were taking care of these children inside of, the situations that they were in. I thought it was pretty interesting. What's also interesting is that you do see a lot of people that you do know experiencing this issue, which I do believe is a big issue, that I do think that people should recognize, especially in the Black community. We're so quick to just throw people under the bus, and we're just so quick to just, always tell men that, oh, you can't feel this way because this is how I feel as a woman. You can't feel this way. This is specific to a woman. And I think that's just not fair. I think we should all just be able to try to understand each other a little bit more and listen more to people. Because when you don't listen and you show that you don't care, then things start to happen. And then when it does happen, you want to act surprised, like, oh, like, what happened? Like, what did I do? You didn't help. That was the problem. You didn't do nothing. It's not that I'm asking you to get me help. I'm not asking you to call a psychologist or psychiatrist to try to get me help. I'm not asking you to do that. All I'm asking you to just be able to support me and understand that I'm going through something right now, and I just want you to, help me out here. Just let's talk a little bit more about this. Try to listen to me, especially if you are in a marriage. I think it should be split down the middle, not just finances, but emotional needs. Physical needs is kind of a given in a really committed relationship. But for the most part, there's a lot of people who are very selfish with their own personal needs, and then they don't consider the partner that they're with's needs. So then they kind of become selfish in a way with their own needs to not understand what their partner needs from them. And that's kind of where the conundrum happens. You both start questioning your relationship. You start questioning whether this baby was a mistake. You start questioning a lot of things rather than just having a conversation, an open and honest conversation with each other, and then try to understand each other. And if you really don't understand this person and what they're feeling, then ask questions. I think the biggest part of understanding, people and behavior is just asking questions. When you ask questions, you get answers. Whether they're the truth or the lie, the fact is that you can hold people accountable for the response that they've given you. Like I said, if it's the truth or a lie, then at least you know that you've got a definitive answer from this person instead of bouncing back and forth, trying to really understand them or taking guesses or sneaking around and, in their personal private things to try to see if you can look for things. All of that is just for the birds. I don't got time to be going through nobody's stuff. If I need to find out what's going on with you and why your behavior is changing, we need to have a conversation. If you're my woman, we need to have a sit down and a talk about what you're feeling. Because this is not going to be a healthy relationship, and I'm not going to be selfish to just sit back and watch you suffer through this situation, and I'm not going to ask you what's going on. So I think, women should be definitely a little bit more supportive with their husbands or boyfriends if you just had a baby, especially if he starts to change. So those are the kind of the things that I would say as a woman. Of course it's a given. Men need to get it together, especially men in the Black community. We need to really uplift these Black women who actually may be suffering through these situations instead of trying to broadcast it as like, oh, you're a bad mother, you're this, you're that. Well, if she's a single mom and she's living paycheck to paycheck and, where she's living is not of the best neighborhood, and the job that she has, she doesn't make a lot of money, and then you wonder why, women, who are in these situations do the things that they do. But if that's going to be something that we have to accept, then we also have to try to understand that men may suffer through this too. And I think a lot of men, especially as the breadwinners, a lot of men actually go through a lot in terms of, what it is that they may be feeling at work, pressure about being able to provide every single day, even in a situation like what we got going on right now with the current circumstances. A lot of people are out of work. So you wonder, if food is going to be on the table tomorrow and if the bills are going to be paid by next month. And when you, as a man, start thinking about these things and you have children, it can be scary, and it can be very tolling on your body and on your mind. But for me, I think it's important that if you are in a relationship, you guys have to have communication and understand each other. That's what I would want in a relationship. I wouldn't want to talk to my person all the time. If I'm feeling happy, sad, angry, whatever I'm feeling, I want to be able to come to you and talk to you because I love you and we are in this together. We got this child together, so let's do this together. Even if you're not going to be in a relationship with somebody, I think the best for you to try to understand is that this person's going to be around your child. Then you need to really have open communication with this person instead of guessing, snooping around. Talk to this person, that goes into this situation. So if you guys have more content or more videos that you want me to react to, again, please put something in the comment section below so I can read it, and I can probably do another reaction video to that. Give me that thumbs up. And please, guys, again, postpartum depression is real. Depression is real. And for a lot of people who are suffering through depression, there is outlets for you to be able to talk to someone. You can dial 211, which is an emergency hotline for anybody who needs any kind of psychological assistance for any mental ailments that they may be suffering from, any current situations, that a death or a new baby, anything that may be in a way debilitating to their mind. There's outlets you can contact other people. There's a discussion I want to have about doctors and availability of mental health services in this country, especially in the state that I'm in. It's probably a little bit more than a lot of other states in this country, but I do believe that there is a shortage of mental health services that we do need to address. I will talk about that in another video, but now I'm just going to tell you, respect each other, love each other, and communicate. Communication and a lot of other things. We won't mention them other things because there's a lot of other things that you can do to help depression. You know what I'm saying? Ow! We out, y'all. Let's talk next time because I'm being too fresh. Street Council out.